Okay, Chapter 2 of your textbook, Universal Design for Learning and Response to Intervention. So UDL and RTI. So, we all are very familiar with the idea that in planning for diversity, because we're going to have diverse students with very diverse requisite skills in our classrooms. So in order to be to positively impact student learning, teachers must have flexible teaching styles and incorporate teaching strategies to meet the needs of all students. It's great to say that though, but how do we actually do that? Well, the way we do that, the most contemporary concept is through Universal Design for Learning, again also known as UDL. The idea is it's a philosophy about the way things should be designed, like the physical environment and your instructional practices even. Really at its core though, it's all about delivering products and services that are usable by people with the widest range of functional capabilities. That means functional strengths and limitations. So how to make our instruction address a wider audience with a lot of different skills and perhaps weaknesses. I like to think of it this way, and this is a common example that's used in the literature. So if you today were plopped down into a wheelchair, you'd probably find a lot of barriers out there. Why? Because people have designed things, so we're talking about structures and architecture right now. People have designed things around their perception, the way that they live, their senses. So they don't think about those things as a primary objective. They don't think about those things as the primary way of functioning. Whereas if your reality is now wheeled mobility in a wheelchair, that would be your primary way of functioning. So that would be your reality, your way of living, your way of perceiving. Now imagine if this world was built because none of us were able to walk. We all had to use wheelchairs. So we'd probably have much different design out in the world that would accommodate people in wheelchairs, but obviously would also accommodate the larger group of society out there that that used walking as mobility. So imagine a building that's built totally on ramps, right? With ramps going up levels. Accessible to all, right? But how do we do this for instruction? How do we get this into instruction and make our instruction more accessible for a wider range of individuals? Okay, well, there are several guidelines. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this little object for a minute. So representation. We use multiple means of representation. So we provide options for perceptions, how people are sensing, how they're inputting information. So options that customize the display of information. Could be color-coded, could be bold. We could use contrast to help. Could be larger size font. Okay, the second one there, we're talking about options that provide alternatives for auditory information. So instead of just lecturing, we actually use written material. Again, it's about multiple paths for input, multiple input paths. So students don't just hear it, but they see it, or they might experience it. It's about being able to encode that way into memory. Options that provide visuals, so are alternatives for visual information. So again, not just showing the visual, but actually speaking about the visual and decoding it. Number 2, under representations, provide options for language and symbols, so options that define vocabulary and symbols. So for instance, we use language that's accessible, and we actually provide inline definitions. So students don't have to go and look something up. It's understandable just by reading the sentence or phrase. Options that clarify syntax or structure, so if something's difficult, we make it easier. options for decoding text or mathematical notations, options that promote cross-linguistic understanding. So we help build bridges for those of second language learning, and options that illustrate key concepts non-linguistically. So again, by using visuals to help back up those that are language-based or text-based. Provide options for comprehension. So number 3, options that provide or activate background knowledge. So we try to do contextual learning. We try to link previous knowledge by reinforcing that and building on top of it. Options that highlight critical features, big ideas and relationships. So, imagine like a cognitive map or semantic map that actually, or concept map, that shows how things work or how things are linked together. Options that guide information processing, so step processes, building a step process that helps students, also known as a task analysis, that helps students go through the process in a very linear manner. Options that support memory and transfer, so using mnemonic memory tools and devices. So we go on to Roman numeral 2 here, we talk about expression. So using multiple means of expression. Provide options for physical action. So options in the mode of physical response. So, being more related to the kinesthetic. So actually having students build something. Options in the means of navigation. So have students actually go out and, if they're doing something in geometry, actually have them build a model, large scale, out in the playground. Options for accessing tools and assistive technology, so allowing students to use assistive tech to help create models and representations. 5, provide options for expressive skills and fluency. So options in the media for communication, options in the tools for composition and problem solving. So again, it's about the way that they're being able to express themselves. So we don't just force them into doing one thing, like write an essay. We actually have options for the way they're creating an outcome for you. So the way they're representing solving a problem, the way we're representing communication. So we don't just need to talk or write for communication. We can create a visual for communication, a poster, etc. Options in the scaffolds for practice and performance. So scaffolds are, building up structures around students that allow them to succeed. Okay, so that's really what we're talking about there. Provide options for executive functions, so options that guide effective goal setting. So create a structure that helps them set goals, clear goals, and goals that progress. Options that support planning and strategy for development and strategy development. So allow them or show them how to actually create strategies to get from point A to point B. Options that facilitate managing information and resources. So show them how to keep a notebook, how to keep information organized, how to be able to refer back to it. Options that enhance capacity for monitoring progress. So show them how to monitor their own progress within a course, how to keep grades, how to make sure that they're doing everything that they need to do. Engagement. So use multiple means of engagement. Provide options for recruiting interest. So options that increase individual choice and autonomy. So allow the student options in the outcomes for assignments. Options that enhance relevance, value, and authenticity. So you want concrete contextual learning, problem-based or project-based learning as being authentic representations of what students would do in the real world. Options that reduce threats and distractions. So again, hopefully in this type of environment, we have students on task without, threatening them to do your work or you're going to get detention. And hopefully they're not going to be distracted because other students are actually on task. Why? Because they have the relevancy of what they're learning, and they're allowed multiple options for the outcome of the way they're actually going to manifest their learning. 8, provide options for sustaining effort and persistence. So options that heighten salience of goals and objectives. So again, we're talking about the fact that students have a clear outcome of what they're looking to achieve, and it's linked to the objectives of what they're supposed to be learning. Options that vary levels of challenge and support. So this is how we get the range of learner. We have options built in there that work from easy to hard, and students should progress in that manner. Options that foster collaboration and communication, so allowing students to work with each other to learn from each other in social learning models. Options that increase mastery-oriented feedback, so again, providing prompt, structured, positive feedback to students on what needs to change and what's actually good about what they've already produced. Provide options for self-regulation. So options that guide personal goal setting and expectations. So again, students are able to understand what they need to do and have expectations of themselves, but you probably are providing a rubric, so they have clear ideas of what expectations you're going to have when you grade the assignment. Options that scaffold coping skills and strategies, so give students strategies for how they need to progress through the work, how they need to approach a subject, how they need to approach the actual assignment. Options that develop self-assessment and reflection. So, after it's done, have students reflect on the process, not just turn in the product.